Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of Build. We hope you've all had an incredible week. I'm excited to talk to everyone here today about building agents in Copilot Studio using Model Context Protocol, open standards, and more. My name is Junkar. I'm a PM in Copilot Studio.
And I'm Mads Bellaris, and that and more is doing a lot of work. So we'll also be talking about how MCP works with Foundry and a bunch of other protocols.
Yep. So brief overview of our agenda today. We will talk about what Model Context Protocol is. And then like Matt said, we'll talk about the integration with Copilot Studio, with Azure AI Foundry, and also have Zapier on stage to talk about their journey. So here at Microsoft, we just love MCP, as you've probably seen all week. I'm sure it's not something that you're hearing for the first time. But what is Model Context Protocol? So MCP is an open protocol that standardizes how applications provide context to LLMs. So think of MCP like a USB-C port. Just as a USB-C allows you to connect your devices to various peripherals and accessories, MCP allows you to connect your applications and your agents to various external tools and data sources. MCP hosts are those programs such as VS Code and Copilot Studio that want to access data through MCP. Then we have clients such as GitHub Copilot and Copilot Studio that maintain these one-on-one connections with these servers. And then you have the servers themselves. These are lightweight programs that expose specific capabilities through the standardized Model Context Protocol. So let's dive deep now into what these specific capabilities are and how MCP brings it all together. At its core, MCP provides a standardized way for agents, like those built in Copilot Studio, to understand and act on structured data and services. Think of it as a shared language that connects model to the tools and resources that they need. Tools in MCP represent functions, things like search, code generation, or domain-specific actions. They're defined in a way that are consistent, reusable, and discoverable by agents. Then you have resources. These are entities or data that the tools operate on. It can be a document, a calendar event, a program, or even just a customer support ticket. And then you have prompts. Prompts act as a bridge between user intent and tool invocation. So with MCP, we can define rich prompt templates that guide the model or agent to invoke the right tool in the right context. What's powerful here with MCP is that it brings all three, tools, resources, and prompts, into a unified schema. This allows you to build agents that are not only smarter, but more adaptable across domains and user scenarios. So you could be building enterprise workflows, developer scenarios, or vertical-specific solutions. MCP provides a standard foundation for you to be able to do so. And at Microsoft, we are fully committed to the Model Context Protocol. Whether you're building local and remote MCP servers, to wanting to access many of our tools and registries for MCP servers, or consuming all of this via many of our clients and hosts, Microsoft is fully committed into providing a holistic ecosystem around Model Context Protocol with strong partnership with Anthropic. So let's now take a look at the integration of Copilot Studio with Model Context Protocol. So MCP enables Copilot Studio agents to securely access external tools, external data, and external prompts. So by connecting to an MCP server, agents can perform actions like invoking functions, reading files, or using predefined prompts. These integrations are managed through connectors, which are configured using OpenAPI schema files. Once connected, MCP actions appear as native agent capabilities. So as tools and resources and prompts get added to the server or updated to the server, these are dynamically reflected within your agent in Copilot Studio. And this approach streamlines the development of context-aware AI assistants by providing a standardized method for extending their functionality. And this week, we're definitely excited to announce that MCP in Copilot Studio is now generally available. And with GA, we have several new capabilities and enhancements. You can now see the list of tools that come with the MCP server. Additionally, we have enhanced tracing and analytics that allow you to better troubleshoot and optimize for performance. So how does the integration in MCS work for MCP? The process can be broken down into 3 key steps. First, creating the server using many of the supported SDKs. Second, creating a custom connector to connect to the server. And lastly, adding that connection as a tool to your agent to consume that data via Copilot Studio. So let's jump into the product and show you how the end-to-end works. So here in Copilot Studio, I'm going to click on my agent. And we navigate to tools where I can see my Contoso Lead Management Server type Model Context Protocol has already been added. But to show you how you can add additional servers or how you add a connection in the first place, you click on Add a Tool. You can either search for your MCP or navigate over to our filter Model Context Protocol. You click on your server, ensure the correct connections, and then you can add it to your agent. So clicking on my tool type, on the settings page here, I can see some details of my MCP connection. And down here, I can see the list of tools that come with the MCP server. So let's take a look at the end user experience. So just adding a question here, what are my open leads? And you can see here on the left that the MCP server was initialized, and I am able to see which tool specifically in the MCP server was invoked. To even have it give me more information, just asking it to give me some more specific details on a particular lead. And as you can see, a different tool is invoked based on my prompt. Microsoft now has several MCP servers that are ready to use across the Microsoft ecosystem, so we highly encourage you explore these and try these out. Additionally, we are proud to announce that several of our partners and ISVs have developed MCP servers, which will be available soon in Copilot Studio, empowering all our makers with new, powerful tools. With that, I'd like to invite on stage Nate Moore, Senior Software Engineer at Zapier, to talk to us about Zapier's journey with Model Context Protocol and their journey with integrating it into Copilot Studio. Nate?
Hey everybody, my name's Nate Moore. I'm a software engineer at Zapier. I work on our agent platforms team, so we're making a lot of really cool tools to kind of enable your agents to do more. If you're unfamiliar with Zapier, we are a platform that lets you connect all of your apps to all of your other apps. Traditionally, this is like a no-code kind of platform, but we're kind of breaking out of that mold a lot lately. And we have over 8,000 apps that you can connect to. And inside of those apps, we have over 30,000 different tools. And in those apps, we have 300 and growing AI apps that are specific to doing anything with agents or anything with AI. And in fact, AI is the fastest growing category at Zapier. Over the past 2 years, we've just seen monumental growth inside of our product of just people using AI for everything. Like it's kind of crazy. And as part of that, we saw the Model Context Protocol come out, and we said, this is a perfect fit for Zapier. We can go and enable all of these 30,000 tools that we have to be called from MCP. So we recently launched Zapier MCP, which is a MCP server that we host on our side. You don't have to set up anything on your side. We handle all of the authentication, all of the authorization. We have really nice auditing tools. We've got enterprise-grade security there. All the connections are through OAuth, which is really nice. And like I said, we have 30,000 tools that you can use to connect to Zapier MCP today. And as part of this, we also have an advanced resolver, where when you're setting up your tools, you don't have to set a value for every single field. You just give it instructions like, I want to add a row to my speaker presentation spreadsheet, and it will just figure out what the columns are, what the values for the columns are, and it will just fill it out and figure it out. Let Zapier do the hard part. And now we have a demo. This one. Okay, so here I am inside of Zapier MCP. You can see I've already set up a server that is connected to Copilot Studio. I've added a bunch of tools here, some stuff for Gmail, Notion, Google Sheets, Jira, LinkedIn, anything. And like I said, we have over 8,000 apps. If you go to zapier.com/apps, you can kind of like browse through all of our apps and see what we have available. And if I click Add Tool here, you can see all of these different tools that are available to add to Zapier MCP. And I have this already set up inside of an agent instead of Copilot Studio. So you can see here I have Zapier MCP as a tool. And if I click on that, it will load in, and it will show all of those tools that I have added to my Zapier MCP server. This isn't available yet. We hope to have it published within like a week or two, and you'll be able to find it. And the setup here is super easy. You just need to copy and paste your Zapier account ID in here. We'll have some really nice setup steps for that. All right, so here it is. It has all of my tools. And as was demonstrated, we can interact with those. So I can say, like, do I have any, I can zoom in here. Do I have any urgent emails? And that will connect to my Zapier MCP server, and then it will call one of my tools that I have to see if I have any urgent emails. So here you can see it found that I have a Gmail find email tool, and it is searching with the urgent label. And oh, I need to make a really awesome presentation for Bill. And you can see that it gives you even a link to the email here. So if I open that, it will like show me the actual email. Oh, I sent this to myself last night. And I can say, wow, that is urgent. Let's make a Jira ticket. And so now it will take the context of our conversation, and it will go and call my other tool of creating an issue in Jira, and it will figure out all of the fields that need to be filled out to make that Jira ticket. And there that is. Oh, there it is. And something else I want to put on here, inside of Zapier MCP, you'll notice that some of these tools have values below, and that is because, like, if I clicked on this LinkedIn one, all of these are set to have AI generate a value, and that is that resolver that I was talking about. So when this tool runs, our AI will figure out a value to use for all of those fields. But you can see inside of this Jira one, I have it set to specifically my agent platform team project, so you can kind of control what your tools are able to access inside of Zapier MCP. Some other cool stuff, I can say, speaking of build, get all the rows from my speaker spreadsheet. Get the first 10. And over here, this is just like an example. I have a spreadsheet that I've built in Google Docs that just has the LinkedIn pages for me, Jankar, and Mads, who is behind this stage. And look, there it is. It got those, and it can say something like, let's parse Nate's LinkedIn for, what are those columns? His name, title, and company. And so as you can see, as you're talking to your agent and kind of like building up this context, the agent is able to take all of that context and use it when it runs your MCP tools inside of Copilot Studio. So there it goes. It got my everything, and I can say, cool. Let's update the spreadsheet with that info. And now it will go and it will update my spreadsheet and update that row with all of the info that it just got from my LinkedIn page. Let's go see if it did it. And there it is. It updated that row. I can say, awesome. Let's write a LinkedIn post about how I'm presenting on stage at Microsoft Build. I haven't tried this one out yet, so we'll see if it works. Oh, maybe it did. I don't know. I'll have to go to my LinkedIn and see. But yeah, that's my demo. Like I said, this isn't available in Copilot Studio yet, but look for it.
Thank you, Nate. Super excited to see Zapier's journey with both Model Context Protocol and Copilot Studio. We'd also like to announce that support for A2A protocol will also be coming soon to Copilot Studio. Mads will be touching point on that during the second half of this session on MCP versus A2A. And with that, I'd like to invite Mads Bolaris back here to talk about Azure AI Foundry and its journey with Model Context Protocol.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we learned about Copilot Studio, and how I can use MCP for tools, which is great because, again, Microsoft has all these MCP servers. I'm going to be showing you one for GitHub in a bit. And then, of course, we have these third-party partners like Zapier, which, oh my goodness, all those existing connectors in Zapier, you can now give them to your agents. Just imagine just how powerful that is, and as you just saw, how easy it is. So I'm Mads. I'm the Group Product Manager for Azure AI Agent Service, and I'm going to be talking about the more pro-codey way of integrating MCP into your agents. Now, Azure has an agent service similar to Copilot Studio, and it lives inside of this kind of spectrum that Microsoft has of building agents. So you all saw Copilot Studio, which is, you can kind of see on the right, which is our SaaS offering. You kind of do a bunch of like click and drag and build things. You can, of course, kind of host everything yourselves with IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service, where you bring your own GPU, you bring your own containers, you use something like Semantic Kernel to build your own applications. And in the middle, for all of you that need something where you don't want to like create everything from scratch, but at the same time you still want to do some coding, you want control over your resources, you need things like private virtual networks, that's where Azure AI Foundry comes in, and the particular feature agent service within it. Okay. So this week we announced that Azure AI Foundry agent service is generally available, and with that came a bunch of integrations with new tools. Now, sadly, MCP is not yet available. It is coming soon. But this is kind of our roadmap for all of the connections that we want to bring to Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. At the very bottom row here, you can see that we, of course, care and love about MCP. And we'll be talking about how to light it up today with Semantic Kernel. So there is some demos I'm going to be showing you with ProCode, with bringing it to Azure AI Agent Service. We will be talking about A2A in a bit. But I just want to talk about like some of the other protocols, because the A2A and MCP, those are probably the most buzziest. But we are seeing protocols from OpenAI, like the Assistants API, the Responses API. If you are familiar with LangChain, they have their own protocol called the Agents Protocol. And Microsoft, all of Microsoft, whether it's Copilot Studio, Azure, or Semantic Kernel, is committed to supporting all of these protocols on both bringing those agents into our systems and taking our agents and exposing them through those protocols. I know no other company that is as committed to supporting all of these open standards as Microsoft. So if you do want to get started with MCP today with Azure, as I mentioned, you can achieve that today with Semantic Kernel, which is our enterprise ProCode AI SDK for building agents. And what's great about Semantic Kernel, this is a great one for taking pictures if y'all have your cameras out, it connects to basically everything. So of course we would love it if you used it to connect to Azure OpenAI and all of the models within Azure AI Foundry. We'd love it if you would connect it to things like Azure AI Search, our memory service. But if you have maybe competing products, you can still connect them with semantic kernel. And probably what's most relevant to this conversation is you're able to connect them with MCP in plugins. And you might be thinking, okay, if I'm using semantic kernel, I don't have to deal with Foundry at all. I don't have to deal with agent service. But what I'm going to be demoing in a bit is actually when you build an entire system with with Azure AI Agent Service, 9 out of 10 times you're actually going to be using it with semantic kernel. And with that, I want to dive into a demo showing just how to do that. Actually, a ton of people are taking pictures, so I'll pause for a little bit here as people finish taking pictures. But I'm going to be showing you how you can take an agent that you built in Foundry, and yes, sadly, we don't support MCP yet, how to then bring it into semantic kernel where you can enrich it with those additional capabilities. Alrighty. So if we dive into my machine, we're going to go to my computer. We are in VS Code, and this right here is a semantic kernel project. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to have an AI answer this question: what are the latest 5 Python issues in the Microsoft Semantic Kernel project? Now, to have the AI actually answer this question, obviously it doesn't know it from within the LLM. We have to provide it a knowledge tool, a retrieval tool, so that it actually can search this information. And we just learned how MCP can provide you with tools so that the AI can learn or get this information. So what we are going to do is connect to this MCP stdio plugin. This means it's a local MCP server on this service that's speaking through I/O. This is a semantic kernel package that you can use. You can see right here. And this is kind of behind the scenes what Copilot Studio is doing, right? It's providing the name, the description, and a link to that particular MCP server. Because this is a local one, it's just connecting to server GitHub, and it pulls it in, and it starts using it. So that's how I get my MCP. How do I now connect it to my agent within Azure AI Foundry? Well, I'm now opening up Azure AI Foundry. This is kind of what you get when you land on our homepage. I'm going to go ahead and go into my list of agents. And I have here, if it decides to load, here we go, my MCP demo agent. Here I can curate its instructions. I can change its name. I'm going to be keeping it simple. It's not even going to have instructions. But you'll notice there's no actual tools here, right? Because I'm going to be giving it a tool using semantic kernel. So we have my agent, we have this agent ID, and all I have to do is copy it. And when I get the agent from Foundry, I just provide the ID, and then I can give it to semantic kernel. So here I am creating my agent with the definition from Foundry. And after that, when we create our agent, you can see I'm giving it a plugin. I'm giving it that GitHub plugin, which is coming from that MCP server. And all I have to do now is hit run. And what's going to happen is my agent, yes, it's been defined in Foundry. It doesn't have any tools, but client side, we are giving it the power of being able to search GitHub in order to answer the question that we gave it earlier: what are the latest 5 Python issues in Microsoft Semantic Kernel? So it's going to think for a bit, and any moment now it will give us an answer. And while we wait for it, we can go to a previous run and see what it was doing. And a question I often get is, okay, if I'm adding the MCP server locally, like what's the value of using Azure AI Foundry in the first place? Well, one, the orchestration is all happening in the server side. And one of the big values of Azure AI Foundry Agent Service are actually these threads. And so I can go back to any of the prior conversations that I've had with this agent, whether it's user agent or agent to agent, and I can see what was actually provided, responded back. I can also open it up in the playground and look at the thread information to see all of the steps that the AI took to answer the user's questions. This is extremely powerful because this allows you to debug how your agent is actually using your MCP server. So in this prior run, we can see what is the latest 5 Python issues, and it provided some outputs. But I can see also the individual run steps of this agent. And obviously, the first one that it did was call the MCP server to get answers. And we can see for the input, it says, hey, I'm going to call the GitHub MCP server. I'm going to be asking, hey, this is the repo I'm interested in, semantic kernel. I'm going to ask for some information. And then the MCP server actually generates all of this content and gives it back to the AI. And so if we were wondering why it might have taken a while, like the AI is actually thinking over quite a bit of data from this MCP server. So if you're an MCP author, you might actually use this to trim down or make the response smaller. Or if you're a MCP consumer, you might actually ask the AI, hey, maybe ask for fewer responses so that you can think faster. Now, if we go back to my program, we can see that the agent was able to provide some answers, and it listed off some real issues from the semantic kernel repo so that the user can ultimately do something with it. So that's how you use semantic kernel with Azure AI Foundry Agent Service to bring MCP tools to your agents. Awesome. OK, now we're going to go ahead and switch back to Slideware. And now that we're at the halfway mark, we're going to talk about the and more of our session. A2A. I guess raise of hands real quick. How many of you are familiar with A2A? OK, a good number of you. So Google announced this a few weeks ago. It's short for Agent-to-Agent Protocol. And it's a way of giving a parent agent, we at Microsoft like to call it the router or the orchestrator agent, in order to call other agents and delegate tasks to it, right? Which kind of sounds similar to MCP. So we'll be talking about what the differences are. Now, what's powerful about A2A is a lot of companies are integrating with A2A so that all these different agents from different partners can ultimately talk to each other. And this demo, I'm really, really happy about this demo because I didn't make it. SAP made it. And what they were able to achieve is they were able to bring in agents from Foundry Agent Service, from Google. They had their own agents. And with them, they were able to answer a user's question. So you can see here, it actually contacts an Azure agent. It contacts some of their other agents. There's the Google agent right there. All of these different agents are able to talk to each other using the exact same protocol. So for SAP, it was really easy for them to build this because they were talking to one type of protocol type of message in order to generate this user's response. And here, this is their management plane. It also makes it really easy for them to show a list of all the agents that are working together inside of their project. Because the A2A protocol also provides discoverability capabilities for you to see the name, description, and capabilities of an agent. So for all of you out there, I'm assuming you aren't only using Microsoft products and Microsoft agents. You can start using agents from other providers and having them work together using A2A. So that was a nice little demo. I'd love to show you what it's actually like under the hood when you're using code to talk to one of our agents with A2A. So I'll go ahead and switch back to my computer. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller. And this project that I have here, I just want to prove to all of you that the only libraries that we have are Azure Identity for authentication and the A2A client. There is no Foundry client in here. There's no Copilot Studio client. Besides Identity, there's no Microsoft packages in this repo. And yet, we're still going to be able to talk to our agent. So if we go to program.cs, we can see we're getting my authentication token, and we are creating a client an HOA client to talk to our agent. And all I have to do is provide a URL. It's a frankly large URL, but it's a URL nonetheless, that points to one of my agents. So this is in my Foundry project, and its agent ID is this ID right here. It maps directly, let's see, it maps directly to the IDs that you see inside of our agent's experience. And this is a very simple program. It's proof of life, proof that we can actually talk A to A. We're just going to ask the agent, hey, how are you? And if I go ahead and run this application, it'll go ahead and send that request, again, through A to A so our agent can talk to it. The A2A head on top of our agent service went live, I believe, a couple days ago. And so if you want to start using it, you can. Just FYI, Google did us dirty. No, just kidding. They did update the A2A protocol earlier this week. And so we are updating to match to the latest specification. And that should be landing sometime next week. Alrighty. And if we see the agent did respond. Oh, it's in my debug console. Here we go. It's thinking still. Or no, I think it might have been this right here. It says, yes, I'm doing great, thank you. How can I assist you today? Woohoo! Yes, clap. And I like this because Google shipped this was it 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago? Some of their own even services don't support A2A yet. But Microsoft, we love our open standards. And so this is proof that if anything else comes up, we're going to throw some engineers at it and we're going to support it. It's proof. Okay? So we really are wanting to be that platform that integrates with anything that you ultimately want to integrate with. Okay, so we go back to our deck. MCP or A2A. When do you use each? So it's pretty simple, at least in my opinion. If you have something like a tool, and a tool, what Zapier showed you is a really great example of tools. They're like your dumb APIs that you send some sort of like request body or JSON payload, and you get some request body or JSON payload back. The GitHub example was also really great, right? We sent a request, and it sent us a big JSON payload of GitHub issues. A2A, however, when you're talking to agents, one, it's not some arbitrary JSON payload. There's messages, like all agents talk to each other with messages. So we can at least conform to that. And there's some state behind it. When you ask an agent, hey, can you help me look up some GitHub issues and return some results back? You might want to continue that conversation. You might want to say, oh, can you drill down into issue 1 and tell me who it's assigned to? With MCP, that state is kind of lost. With A2A, that's persisted, and so that as your agents are communicating with each other, they can have that two-way back and forth conversation. Okay. So hopefully this is pretty simple. If you are talking to a dumb API, MCP. If you're talking to a smarter system that's more of an agent, I'd recommend A2A. Okay. And if you're curious about what is available today, hope one day all of us will say, it's here, it's all available. Until then, it's a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to talk through this real quick. For MCP, you saw me demo it today with the connector. You saw us demo that with Copilot Studio. Agent service, as I mentioned, is coming soon. And then on the A2A side, we have, of course, a connector with Semantic Kernel, and it's coming soon to Agent Service and Copilot Studio. And you just saw me demo the API head. And we have one more thing to share, and then we can wrap up this session. That is, besides just MCP integration and A2A integration, we are also wanting to make sure that we integrate with all the open source libraries that are out there within the ecosystem. So, of course, you saw me demo Agent Service working with Semantic Kernel, but there are other important libraries like Llama Index and CrewAI. I don't know if any of y'all have used these before, and coming soon will be LangChain integration, which I know a lot of people use LangChain. But for each of these, you can now use Agent Service inside of these SDKs. This is an example of using an Azure Foundry agent within Llama Index. And then you can also use an agent from Foundry with Crew AI. Again, this is where we as Microsoft want to provide you the flexibility to make sure that you're able to use agents, whether it's from Copilot Studio or Agent Service in any of the frameworks that you use today. And with that, you want to help round things off? Thank you.
Thank you, Mats. So just to share some additional resources we have for Copilot Studio MCP, we have our links for documentation. We have a community forum out there as well for you to share ideas, give feedback. And then we also have a Get Started lab. Thank you all for being here with us today and for your time. We're here to answer any questions after this session, but we hope you enjoyed the session and had a great time at Build. Thank you.